I've been thinking a lot about stories and the storylines that we have told ourselves. And what we tend to do is we look at our history, our life so far, and we have interpreted in a particular direction. What we see as our story is based on how we understand things that have happened to us in the past. And then we begin to expect that it's going to be the same way in the future, that we will always have that particular part of our story that will always be the same way. And we begin to expect things to happen similar to what they have done in the past. But I want you to realize that Scripture says God isn't like that. He's got a destiny and a plan for us that isn't necessarily based on how we see our history or our story in the past. Look at the Bible characters that have had their life stories dramatically changed. Moses, he was a shepherd in the wilderness, and then suddenly God appears to him in a burning bush, and then he ends up pastoring a congregation of over 1 million people. Or Paul in the New Testament, he was a Pharisee by the name of Saul, and he was bent on killing all kinds of Christians, and suddenly God interrupts that story and changes it and gives him a new destiny. Hosea, in the book of Hosea, the Message translation says that he's going to turn heartbreak valleys into acres of hope. So a valley tends to be a dark and narrow place, and Hosea describes it as being one of heartbreak. But when you come into an acre of hope, it's a wide open place that's full of potential and opportunity. And so I want to encourage you today to don't assume that your storyline of your past is what God has called you to in the future. Begin to ask Him what His story is for you, what the destiny is that He's called you into, because I'm sure it's going to be way better than what you've had, and you have a destiny and a future that He's written for you, and it's time for you to listen to Him and to find out how He wants to change your story. And so we'd love to hear from you. Right in the bottom, in the comment section of the blog, about how God has changed your story from the past storylines that were poorly written to a future and a destiny that God has changed for the better. And we'd love to hear from you. Grant will talk to you again next week.